What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Surreal Body Podcast. Zeke Samples here with my co-host, Dr. Nick Ciotti, and we have a special guest with us today, my good friend and the guy who helped me turn professional in my industry, Jeff Lopez. And Jeff's coming to us from around the Central Florida area, and I've known Jeff actually since 2015 when I started to compete again. I crawled out from underneath the competitive rock and needed a coach, needed a guidance, accountability partner and trainer, and added Jeff to the regimen. So appreciate you being here, man.
Oh man, it's a pleasure for you guys inviting me. This is real exciting. Really, it's been long overdue. I know we pushed the date a couple of times, didn't fall through, but worked out perfectly. So real excited to get this going.
Yeah, well, I wanted to talk to you today. We really feel like this could be a great segment and segue into what we're doing as a brand on our podcast because, we come from areas of mindset, accountability, faith and personal stories. So I feel like the focus points and that we want to talk about in our podcast, you really are a branded pinnacle for all those. And when you and I first met, Rebecca and I got married and I needed a trainer. She had this vision I was going to compete in a world championship. And I said, I haven't competed in 20 years. I'm not doing this. So, but then we came up and saw you. We met you through a friend referral she had. So yeah, I would just love to hear your story. Tell us how you got started in the industry, where you came from. I know I met you in New Jersey, but then now you're in Florida. So tell us a little bit about you.
Well, what happened was, I was always like in shape, but like lean, but not like training wise. But I was always interested in working out. Just never really did until I moved from New Jersey to Miami. And when I moved to Miami is where depression came about because I was 16 years old, which is probably the worst time for anybody to move. I know it's never a good time, but 16 is usually horrible because you're kind of settled with all your friends and everything. And to go where there's, which is Miami's a big city. And the school was huge. It was like 3,000 kids or something like that. I mean, my graduation was in the Miami Arena. And so I just sat home and did nothing. I just ate fattening foods and just watched TV. That's all I did. I got depressed. And, one day during Christmas time, we had our Christmas party with because my father's side of the family lives down in Miami. And they took a picture of me. And then I remember seeing myself. I goes, holy mackerel, I'm fat. No one told me, And I was like, so then a brand new gym just opened up, which is still there, believe it or not. It's called Porky's Gym. Now it's called Porky's Hardcore in Kendall Drive. And so funny was I asked my mom for a gift for a membership. So I went there and I joined the gym. And not long after that, I just ate well. Actually, my dinner was fried chicken with rice, but I took the skin off, which was the skin from like Tyson chicken. My mom baked it in the oven. I had that with vegetables, ate that, had protein shakes. Hot Stuff was my first protein shake. And then, I lost weight. I lost about 30 pounds. But I really wanted to get into more in the training. And then Jillian Hodge, which is a pro, her and I became friends. And, I was going to hire her. That's 18 years old because I really wanted to learn how to train. And that's the big thing of like today, how different it is back then. There's a humbleness and there's a thing where where people are better than you and have more knowledge. And people today don't care about who you are or what knowledge you have. For some reason, Joe Schmo, down the block, just because his veins in an arm, has more education, more smarts than you. And thank God I wasn't born today. I was born back then because I was able to, really absorb the knowledge that I was taught. And she taught me a couple of things. And she said, well, first of all, I'm not going to charge you. I'm going to take you under my wing. What you're going to do is you're going to watch my shop, because she had a little shop in the gym where she sold supplements. Watch it now and then, and we'll call it even, which I only watched it maybe twice. Okay. That was it. Other than that, we trained. Taught me how to train, taught me how to focus, taught me form. She was strong as hell. I mean, I've seen her incline 225 with like immaculate form. I mean, she would make no noise. She's like, That was it. No screaming, no yelling, no nothing. And she showed me how to train. And the funny part was, it was rules. One rule was I could ask a question, but not question her. Okay, which I would never would do. And I wasn't allowed to talk to anybody. It was only me and her. So one of my friends came up to me, asked me, "Hey, what's up, man?" She looked at him, she goes, "Go away." And I looked at him and I was like, "Sorry, I got this. I'm learning here, buddy. I'll talk to you later." I go, "I'm sorry. I got to respect her, And she would be like, some days she'd be great mood. Sometimes she'd be in a bad mood, but she got me in good shape and training, like I remember my hips shift when I was squat. And she's like, "You got to go back to the Smith machine." So I got demoted to the Smith machine, right? But it was for my own good. And she taught me about some nutrition, but training was the number one thing. How to train, how everything was stretch, squeeze, focus. You can go heavy, but you need to control the weight, not the weight control you. Lee Haney, as we all know, somebody trained with as well, was, what was it? The quality, but not the quantity. I think it was one of his things. Now, don't worry so much about the weight. Just focus and squeeze, because you need to work the muscle. Otherwise, you're just going on momentum. And I met some people through her. I met, Chris Ciotti. I trained with him a couple of times because he was married to Laura Cravell at the time. And I met Laura. And what the funny thing was, I had back then, it was the attire was, you got the ripped jean shorts and the Body Live tank tops. I mean, those were great clothes back then, right? And I remember Laura saw me and she's like, because I trained with Chris because she would get ready for the Olympia. And she says, "You go train with Chris. I'm going to train with Laura for the next couple of weeks because to get her ready." I said, "Okay." And Laura goes, "Wow, you have nice legs," to me. Oh my God, my head about to swell up. And everyone goes, "Oh no, his head's about to explode." All I have is like the top competitor in the Olympia saying that I had a good physique, that made me feel like, oh my God. And I literally passed out almost, right? But Chris was not somebody then, but was going to. And I was told that. He goes, "This guy's going to be somebody. Trust me, in a couple of years, you're going to know his name." Well, guess what? He won Olympias through coaching, writing books. He loves carbs. He manipulates carbs his way. He trains carb manipulation. And the long story short was when I moved to New Jersey, a friend of mine that trained me, his friend Glenn was friends with them. And he's the mastermind that helped fine tune the carb cycling and things. And he was just a skinny guy, but he had it right here. So from there, I moved back to New Jersey and by the way, when I was at Porky's Gym, the owner liked me. He liked my work ethic and he hired me to work and paid me well, really liked me. And then I moved back to New Jersey. And then I started working at World Gym. And then from there, worked at Gold's. And then I went on my own. And then I started competing. When I started competing was he just passed away. Oh, my God, what's his name? It'll come to me. His son played tight end in the NFL for the Raiders. My God, it'll come to me. But he was a top pro. And he said to me, "Hey, why don't you compete? You got great physique." He goes, "Nah, man, look at all those people. They're huge. They're big." He goes, "Buddy," he was a ball buster too. Oh, Giant Morant. That's what it was, Giant Morant. And he was a big ball buster. Loved to joke. He would tell mom jokes. His biggest black guy, huge, had a lot of potential, but didn't like to diet. And I remember Dorian Yates told him at Diamond Gym saying, he goes, "Oh, I know who you are." And he goes, "You know who I am? Yeah, Giant Morant. You're the biggest waste of talent out there." Basically, he goes, "Yeah, you're right," because he would never want to diet. But if he dieted and did everything he was supposed to do, he could be a top 3 or 4 competitor in Olympia. He had it. So he said to me, he goes, "Why do you ever compete?" I goes, "Listen, I'm not busting chops here. I'm being serious now." And he goes, "You can do it. Trust me. I'm not a guy that's coached people, this and that. You got to find somebody, but I know you can do it. I know you win. I know you do real well." So he spoke life into me. He didn't have to do that, but he did. And I remember I was a top trainer at Gold's. I was training people from 1 to 10. Monday through Thursday, straight through. And then on Saturdays from 8 to 12 or 8 to 1, straight through. I was the top guy. And it's because I cared. I loved people. I loved to help people. I didn't want to screw with people around. I never wanted to hose people, being an ambulance chaser, as they say, just, tell people when they want to hear, and sometimes you got to be, you got to tell the truth, And so he told me to compete. And my friend Frank, I hired. And he trained me, and I did my first show. It was a Natural Eastern Classic. I won that. Then did a short off season, did the Jersey 2000. I won that. And then Steve Stone, which is a top guy who used to run the shows in New York City, backstage says, why don't you do the Junior USA? It's going to be here in New Jersey. He goes, you'd be stupid if you don't. You'll definitely be top 5. Now, top 5 is huge, because you got to remember, this is a whole United States, everybody competing in different weight classes. So I asked my friend Frank, and he's like, yeah, do it, man. So I did it, and I got second. And the funny joke I was telling people this is that I could have won if the guy that did compete against me that got first place didn't show up, because he had the same thing as I did. He won the South Carolina, and he got talked into doing it the last second. So it was both of us did the same thing. They won our shows, and then they said, dude, you got to do it. And we both did it, but he deserved to beat me. He had a lot more muscle than I did. His legs were the legs of a middleweight. His sweep was out of control. He became pro later on. Then I took a little time off, and then I competed again, and I won that. And they asked me, do you want to do USA? Because, we think you could win your weight class, which actually John Kemper told me that, which is he owned a Diamond Gym, and he was the top judge of the IFBB. And he liked my physique. And I said, you know what, John, I'm done. I don't want to diet no more. I want to eat clean. I want to look good. But you know what? Let someone else do it, because I don't see myself in the future. I'm not willing to go that far like some of these other guys are. And that's what happened, And so I just was, training and doing, that, and just helping people lose weight, gain muscle, see people, their life get better, and speaking life into people, it's like a ministry, you gotta tell people the truth, unfortunately, you gotta tell people. Otherwise, what's the sense? It's like I use this as a slogan or example. Let's say you're at a party and there's like all these, you're a single guy and you have all these women looking for somebody, and you're there with a friend, okay? And no one really talks to you, and you leave, and then you go home and you look and you have a booger in your nose. And you say to your friend, dude, I had a booger in my nose. And he goes, hey, I know, I saw it when we first got there. Why you tell me? There are all these girls here looking at me. And he goes, I don't want to embarrass you or insult you. Now, that's when you're supposed to step in and say, hey, clean your nose. You got something there. You can't see people look at that. That's what a good friend or someone cares about you. And I had a lady one time, I was training 3 times a week. She wasn't losing any weight. So I said, this is impossible. If she's eating when we're supposed to eat, she should be losing weight. So I said to her, I pulled her aside and I said, listen, either you got a thyroid problem or you're lying to me. So what is the case? Jeff, I swear I'm following the food you're doing. And he goes, I will go to the doctor and I'll get checked. So she got her blood work taken a week later, came with a big smile on her face with a paper. Her thyroid was off. Doctor said if you weren't training and eating correctly like your trainer had you, you'd be 15 to 20 pounds over. So they put her on some compound to help her balance it, and then she started dropping and doing stuff. But, sometimes you got to be, you got to tell people. And a lot of people will come to me to uplift their spirits too. People, hey, Jeff, are you free? I had a bad day. I need a session. You need a session to talk. Someone to care about them. Someone will listen to them and give them good advice, And that's what it comes down to. A lot of people don't do that, and, I had a person just ask me, hey, I'm getting a massage. Can I still train that day? I said, well, I don't think so, but let me just clarify through some, people that I know very well that, my friend John Vino, who's like a doctor, in training. Goes 24 hours, you can, but you should be 24 hours, you need the muscle to rest, blah, 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 blah. So I told my friend's wife, because she was asking me, because I explained exactly what it was. And she goes, text me back. She's like, oh, he wants to train anyway. I said, okay, it's on him. But I didn't want to take someone's money or hurt somebody or do something with somebody that is my responsibility. Because when you're training with me, you're under my wing. You're my responsibility now. Your health, everything, and I've never had anybody get hurt through me, which I thank God for. So that's when it comes down to now. And then I met Zeke. I trained him, and that was crazy because I worked with some pros, but I never made a pro. And Zeke was the first pro I made. And it's funny is that when you train people for shows, people don't realize how crazy you are. Zeke got crazy. I got crazy because you're such everything's so sensitive because there's such stress on you to be looking good and looking the best. You know what I mean? And it's very stressful, so because all this work and you're like, oh my God, one thing is that going to make me lose? Am I lose? And so Zeke's genetics were great. By accident, his wife bought him like a little higher fat, ground turkey. And he calls me, hey, Jeff, Rebecca bought me this. Is it okay? Or it could be okay? He goes, bro, just switch it to the lean one. It's okay. Listen, if you look like that on that, my God, you're going to look at him way better when you get the leaner one. So I had to flip his mindset around, which is the truth. Okay. And, he was shredded beyond the bones, shredded, like veins everywhere, like ridiculous.
Well, I remember too, there were times where you would start to tell me, okay, this, because we'd have our check-ins and you'd say 6 ounces of beef at this meal. And then we're going to do 6 ounces of chicken over here. And then you'd pause and like, it'd be 5 or 6 seconds. I'm like, okay. And what's next? And you'd say, hold on. God just told me we're going to change it to fish. We're going to do 6 ounces of fish. And like, so even like the changes in the diet and everything were just.
Well, the thing is that it's not really guessing, it's feelings. Feelings will come over you. Remember, actually it was Chris Ciotti was working with this one guy, I forget his name, big white guy, I forget his name, it'll come to me. And he's looking at him, he's like, you know what, you're lean, but you're not hard, you're vain, but it was like a this and this. So he just puts his finger on him and just touches him like this, right? And he wants to see the water. And then Chris goes, okay, this is what we're going to do. You're doing no carbs for 4 days, and we're going to give you about 800 carbs the next day or so. And the guy wins. Okay, his physique totally changed. It usually is always the right thing. So you're sitting there, you look at it's like a crime scene, and you're trying to figure everything out. Okay, how did this person come in the house? How did he kill the person and everything? And you're dissecting the physique. And usually it's the right thing. It's so funny. This wisdom will just come upon you. And
I think when you do anything long enough professionally, you start to your gut feeling, when to make a decision, even though it might not be 100% scientific. It's baked into it via the experience where it becomes a little more of an art form versus by the textbook,
Exactly. And that's how it goes. You just sit there and you'll have somebody. And I remember I trained this one guy for a show. He looked great. And I asked one of the judges who ran the show, says, so what do you think? He looks great. Just bring him a little tighter. He goes, oh, okay, I think I'm feeling what I'll do is I'll just take some of his water away and I'm going to add a little sodium to suck up the water because that sounds great. Comes in, does everything, changed his physique from morning to afternoon. Judge goes, I got to be honest with you, I didn't think you could do it, but, he goes, well, I'm talking to Jeff Lopez. Because I have these things where I had this one friend, Vinny Galanti, which I love. He hated me when we were younger because he hated this one kid I was friends with, but I was never like that kid. But I was very respectful for him. We became good friends. He does ministry stuff. He trains people. He went back into training for shows. And every time I would go in, have a guy for a show, a teenager, he'd be a young guy. He goes, okay, hey, what are you doing, Jeff? Backstage? Going nothing. And he's like, oh, so who do you have? I said, oh, I got a teenager, you would know, because you always have teenagers too. It was like, oh, no. And he goes, well, where is he? And I goes, that kid right there. Goes, that kid? I want to see his ID. This kid's shoulders were out to here, popping, everything. And Somebody was working with him before, and I said, well, listen, you need to cut more than half of that stuff out. You don't need that. He was a young kid, he had great genetics, and he just shrunk it down, came in tighter, and he won the jersey as a teenager, for his weight class, a teen. And then he did another show where the show was a debacle. They named the other kid first place, not him. And so I went up to the judge, I'm like, yo, what's up, man? And he's like, Jeff, I'm so sorry. We got it wrong. They announced the wrong things. I just called the kid to come back to bring the trophy. Your kid won. Don't worry, we're going to introduce him right now. So the kid was almost crying backstage. Okay. Now there's people around. So I put my arm around him and I said kind of out loud, Sean Corrido was there. He's a good friend of mine. He was laughing. He was laughing so hard. I go, you know what? It's competing. Sometimes you get screwed and you got to turn looking back and just smile. And everyone start laughing and go like this. And that's when the judge came in and said, no, Jeff, he won. You come out here. And I'm like, oh, finally, redemption for show. And the thing is that I've been in training since 1990. So you can't pull wool over me. I know all the tricks. I know all the moves. I know everything. I asked one time Maz Ali when my guys didn't do well. So I asked him, because we're very good friends and I'm very respectful. He loves me because I'm very respectful. And that's the one thing of respectful with anybody. I'll call anybody sir when I first meet them. Hello, sir. How you doing, sir? Either you're 100 or you're 18. I will always address you when I first meet you as sir, because I want to show respect before anything. And I said, Maz, he goes, why my guy didn't win? Well, Jeff, it was physique. And he goes, well, he looked like this and that and blah, blah. So when you're telling me there's no criteria, but you're consistent, I'm being inconsistent. He goes, pretty much, Jeff. So that's what it comes down to. Competing is a crapshoot, too. It's like my wife got ripped off so many times, when I trained her for shows. And, but the last show she won the jersey in physique, and then she retired, and later on we got married and we have a beautiful daughter who's very smart. She got abs. And it's life you learn a lot, you meet a lot of people. It's funny about Zeke was after competing, usually people just go away, but me and Zeke kept in touch here and there. My wife always said to me, because there's a reason why Zeke is still in her life. I don't know what it is, but something God was talking to her, telling her there's something about Zeke. Well, a couple of years later, I moved to Florida. He ends up doing my mortgage for my house, and I got my house through him. How crazy is that?
Yeah.
So I got him his pro card, and he got me my first house.
So he
got me back. So that's the way God works. It's like some people in your life, you don't know why, but they're it's because something God sees in the future that so I was able to be blessed. The house I am right now is because of Zeke.
And you even moving to Florida, because when you helped me, I was in South Carolina, and then I moved to Florida, then you moved to Florida. I forgot who moved first, but we both got down here at the same time.
I moved in 16 of May. So when
you
did
were
you
first? Move? You were first then. Yeah.
And something, we saw a church that we really liked that my parents went to, and we just felt we wanted to get closer to God, and we just took a chance. We prayed on it. We went, had no job, nothing. And I met this kid who ran a gym. He was from New Jersey, knew the area he came from. Well, me doing some personal training there, he gets fired because he flipped out on some girl, picked her up and threw her on the floor of the gym, gets fired. So then I have no job, because there was nothing really there in Orlando. So I didn't work for 6 months, but I lived on my savings. And then then we were going to visit Jenny's family for Christmas. And I prayed. I said, God, you said that you were going to give me a job. You were going to give me stuff. I'm going back with nothing. I can't come back with anything. And I started doing a little bit of work with this hormone replacement guy, and I was training him for free, to try to get people. And the owner of the gym fires his best friend. and says, hey, I just fired, what's his face? You think Jeff would be interested in running my gym? Because I know he's run gyms before and had gyms before. And the guy, Brian, said, I don't know, he's kind of busy. Let me find out. So calls me up and goes, listen, I have something for you. You know, so-and-so fired his best friend. First name out of his mouth was you. That was God right there. And so you can negotiate your deal with him. So I did. I said, I need this money per week, you know, plus I have my personal training. I keep all that. I get vacation, I get this and that. And I said, listen, on these days, 4th of July, these other days, you know, I get paid not to be here because I never call out. I worked there for 3 or 4 years and I called out maybe once or twice. And it was only because my daughter was at school, never because I was sick. I just worked. I was there more than anybody. And I got there early and I left later. Mm-hmm. So, because I had a great work ethic. I treat the place like it's mine. So I went back to New Jersey to visit Jenny's family and my friends. And people say, so how's it over there? Oh, I'm running a gym. I'm the manager of this gym. Doing personal training, doing everything. So I didn't come back with nothing.
Yeah.
So I was there for a while. But that's what happened. Crazy.
I know you have a lot of accountability tips for our listeners with mindset and discipline, because just through sharing your story. So what are some routine or habits and encouragement that those, you know, facing fitness challenges that you can share with us for those people?
Well, what I tell people is when I train people, I say, listen, you are accountable. I will hold you accountable. It's you. I will do my job, but you have to do yours. And that case is where when you're paying me, okay, you're trying to get a result, right? And the result is I will do my part, but without you, my part means nothing. So you need to be on this nutrition. You need to follow this. You need to be, you know, in here doing your cardio. If you do all this and I do my part, we will get to where you want to go a lot faster. Otherwise, you're just be driving the highway at 25 miles per hour. You're going somewhere, but it's really slow. And so what I do too is I use scenarios with people, or, you know, I say, so let me ask you a question. Do you like when you work, you want to get paid, right? I said, yes. It goes, well, if you're paying me, then why are you, you know, wasting that money then? If you're not following what I'm doing, I'm trying to help you with. And so what happens is that I always trying to put the person to understand at the end of the day, it is down to them. But I will guide you. I will do whatever I can. I will answer phone calls. I'll do stuff. But there's rules where you have to follow your stuff. When you walk out that door, you know, it's on you. And I will help you. My phone is here. If you have a question, please ask me. Don't say do stuff on your own and say, oh, I tried this. I didn't want to bother you. No. You call me. So then there's no excuse for anything. And that's how you hold people accountable. And a lot of people who are really busy say, well, you get one phone call a week. And they said because they're afraid of someone, you know, asking 1,000 questions. But I was the first person to ask 1,000 questions. So, but it made me smarter. If the questions are to make you better, then when are you going to answer the questions they're paying you? You know what I mean? And so in that case, you always want to do is have the person accountable, tell them that without their work, my work is obsolete. It's not going to do anything. Okay. You can't out-train a bad diet, you know, and especially if they're real heavy, they need to do their cardio. Cardio brings oxygen to the blood, brings to the body, brings to the muscles. And all of a sudden you start burning body fat. Then your lung capacity opens. Guess what? Now you recover better. Okay. There's a lot of great things about cardio. And plus what it does too, it just makes you feel the natural endorphins release out of your body, you know, especially when you do, a lot of people do cardio early in the morning, 5 a.m., 6 a.m. It sets their time for the whole day. They're awake. They're like, man, I just feel so good. I feel like it's almost like they're cleansed, you know, they're detoxifying their body. And so then you have the weight training. Then they start seeing a little bit of a vein in the arm or a little bit, you know, the waist and everything. And that's the motivation that usually happens. But the first thing you have to do is saying, listen, without these things, you're not going to see what you can't see. You want to be faster? You want to be leaner? Remember, this is not a microwave. This is not, my wife does hair and they'll have people will bring pictures, goes, how can it look like this? And then she's like, all right, well, where your hair is now, which is damaged, box color and stuff like that, it's going to cost you this much and this much time. Okay. When you see these pictures, just like, the before and afters, remember it's on the very bottom says, things may not vary, results are not typical, is because when they take pictures of the before and after, the after is what they look like. But the before is they'll take, have like a whitewash wall. They'll push out their stomach. They'll eat lots of sodium and drink lots of water to look smooth. And they'll go like this. And it's really not their physique. The other physique is their physique. But they make it look like that's the before and after. So you have to understand this is going to take time. And people say, well, how long? It goes, well, it depends. You may be fast out of the gate or slow out of the gate. And what I mean by that was when I trained for shows where I trained to get lean, I was slow for the first 6-8 weeks. Then out of nowhere, like a woman who's pregnant, water breaks, and all of a sudden, every week was boom, 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 boom. I was getting leaner. I was like, holy crap, this is nuts. But there's some people like my wife where she competed, the first month, her body changed huge, so it's based on genetics, you know what I mean? And when people don't see results and they're doing everything, then that's when you have to say, okay, now we extended everything what we're supposed to do. Now, I want you to go to the doctor, and I want you to ask for a full panel of blood work. So when you see the full panel of blood work, you can see what's off. Hormones, men, testosterone, men usually men's really heavier set. Usually their estrogen is high, and because sometimes the body fat will absorb some of the testosterone and the estrogen will skyrocket, and it's hard for them to lose weight. A woman, her main hormone with that is, her thyroid. Thyroid's off. So then if you could regulate these things, and all of a sudden everything happens a lot faster, so that's what you have to do. And so regulating your hormones is very important. You can see where, I learned things from a doctor, which I worked at this one doctor back in New Jersey, who's the number one, hormone replacement doctor. I mean, he spoke in colleges and everything. Everything that you hear today, he told me 15 years ago. Vitamin D, number one in your immune system. He goes, how many times people get sick in the summertime, Jeff? And he goes, no, it's when the vitamin D is low, is during the wintertime. It says when people start getting sick and pathogens of I forget what he said, not being covered or something like that. And, and then it was the testosterone and then, the ECG, and then, you just need a little this, and that will make a natural testosterone for a man. Because so much you can fill a glass. All these people are pumping, and they're using over when they're supposed to be. Then their estradiol goes up. Everything goes up. The hemoglobin goes up. Everything's off. Yeah, you look big, but you're about to, have a heart attack. So that's where, and everything's by blood work. He sees the blood work. He can dissect you in a second. He knows what you're doing, everything. He could say. And it was funny was he was so smart and so intuitive because it was his passion. He loved to help people and do things. And so that's what it comes down to. You have to have passion in what you do, and people feel that. They feel that you care, if people feel you care, they get sucked in to what you're selling.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you being on the podcast today. You really shared a lot of insight with just mindset and what I think our listeners really like to hear with, passion, because that's what we're about. We're trying to really create this podcast to be something that gives back so people can relate to what their challenges are in their normal life.
And sometimes usually it's hard sometimes when your spouse, either for man or woman, is not on your side or trying to encourage you, because that's huge, because a lot of times they're scared that you're going to look better and you're going to leave them is in their self mind. They're going to think.
And even lower than that is like when I'm talking to patients that are dealing with just something like life-threatening levels of diabetes and high blood pressure, and like it's really hard to change your diet if your husband or your wife is totally on the other end of the spectrum, like resisting it completely. It doesn't even have anything to do with looking better. Like people are just set in their ways, and they do get self-conscious, either whether physically or even just like emotionally self-conscious, like, oh, well, you're taking care of yourself now and you're making me look bad. And like it turns into this whole weird thing. So it's almost crucial to have everybody in the house on board when we're trying to make, health goals like that. Probably even more so when it's more, talking specifically about physique and, bodybuilding stuff. But, that all goes hand in hand with health in general.
Well, Nick, it's funny you said that, because I have a friend that's two older couple where he's heavier set and she's like a rail, thin as anything. So she's trying to help him lose weight, but she's making the same food that she thinks is okay, but he can't be eating that. So there has to be two different now meals, because you're looking at it as if you're eating your food that you're okay with, but you have to then, say, wait a minute, I can't have him eat this. I can afford it because I'm, weigh like 100 pounds. He's like, almost 300 pounds. So, but you have to think about it. How much do I care about this person? Because, how much do I love this person? I want to help them. That you're in marriage, you're supposed to, it was funny. I was taught this just recently, and he said, a marriage is not 50-50. It's whoever has the higher, will bring into the lower. So if someone one day, if I come in and I got 20%, my wife has 90, she'll pick me up. If it's the other way, then it's always who picks up the other person to that. Nobody.
I think I definitely saw the lady who was doing that video you're talking about. I remember that like word for word, which is true.
Yeah. Only person's 50-50 is our dogs. The dogs are the same way. They'll greet you. There's no problems, nothing, but you might have, your wife might have a bad day with the workers and this and that. And then you're okay. I'm going to pick her up. And then
if she's having a 20 day, you better bring 80.
Yes, 100%. And that's how
vice versa.
And it's true. It's very true, and so that's what you have to do. Like my wife works late, I don't sit here at my, on my TV and doing stuff and wait for her to cook. I'm asking her, okay, what time you can be home? Okay, what time I'll make some chicken for us. What time do you think you'll be leaving work? So I'm already preparing. So when she comes home, she has food ready to go home because she's worked all day. I've seen other people do it the other way, and I was never comfortable with that, so that's what you want to do. You want to come home, especially a hard day. You come home and your food's ready on the table. There's nothing better. And when you walk in, you say, oh, yes. It's like when you go to a restaurant, you go to the bathroom, you come back, and your food's on the table.
Yeah. Like, and food is perfect time. Food is just one of those opportunities from a family perspective. Even if you got kids in the house, like even doing the cooking together, it's good for you psychologically, physically. It's just all, it's all good. And then again, kind of sharing the duties a little bit. I know I do a ton of the cooking at my house because I've just kind of always enjoyed cooking, which makes living a healthy lifestyle easier if you're willing to figure out how to cook. And that's one of the first things I tell people. If you want to get healthy, you better figure out how to cook. And you don't have to be a 5-star chef. You just have to make your own food so you know what's going into it.
Well, I do watch the Food Network a lot because I do like to watch it, and I'll see tricks that they'll do, and I'll try it and like, wow, that really works. That was really good. Little things I would never think of. They do to bring more flavor, more stuff. Like Bobby Flavor he's really into a lot of heat with his food, and he likes certain peppers and certain chili oils and things. So then I start using this chili oil to put on, say, like a steak, just very lightly on top. And then I found this new rub that's really good, and I put it on there, and then I cook it in the grill, and then I take it off the grill, and then I have a grass-fed butter that I put in the pan, I put in there, and I just sear both like this with thyme for a little bit. Then I let it rest, and it comes out perfectly. Now, as you know, today, if the truth comes out that fats are not hurting people, especially the good fats. If anything, it's going to raise your testosterone, energy, this and that. So I've been changing it to that, and I've been getting tighter and leaner, which you would never think because the pyramid's actually wrong. Because Nabisco and those other companies pay these people off so that people would buy their stuff.
I just found out Nabisco is owned by is it Morris Jones or one of the cigarette companies? They're the masters of addiction, is what.
Yes. That's what it is to have addiction with that. And then it was one person who's kind of woken up from it. was like Dr. Phil, and he's had some of these people on, and
Yeah.
they've said that where we paid off the scientists from Harvard and stuff to say this is healthy, so people will buy it. Because if I pay this guy $1 million about making 100 million, million's nothing, you
Yeah.
know. And that's what it comes
Or
down to.
Philip Morris. That's what I meant to say. Philip Morris. Yeah. You find out that food companies are owned by cigarette companies, and then they're just, it's just a big conglomeration of, they're just masters of creating addiction, essentially, no matter what the product is, especially ones that are bad for you.
Yeah. And it's funny because, as you know, lately, you see, especially with social media, you'll have doctors like that lady O'Neill. I think she's like, what country? She's from Australia, or she's from Ireland or something. She got kicked out of other countries and got sued for saying natural things to do that you don't need this and this. So they try suing the lady. I say, kidding me? I'm telling you the natural things that are on this earth that God gave us to use. Honey is one of the best things. All these other things to help with certain things of your body. And you're pissed at her because you don't want to just taking away money from you. It's crazy. And how funny is this? In America, things in other countries are illegal, but they sell it here in the food.
Yeah, I like to use the Kraft mac and cheese example. The European, same company, Kraft, they sell a different version of mac and cheese in the UK than they do here.
Yeah,
strictly because of the regulations and laws. It's just crazy that the United States, the lobbying is just nuts in this country. It's just absolutely
Adderall is illegal in 3 countries over there. Certain other things are legal. You see the ingredients are this much in America. It's this much.
It's crazy. It's super crazy.
Yeah.
But I think, that's one of the benefits of social media, and kind of what we're trying to do too is just, amplify those voices that are out there, fighting the good fight of trying to just like basic education for the public, just to raise that awareness and get the consciousness up about these things, because, we're 70 years deep into it, and it's gotten really bad, with evidenced by the insane rise in every chronic health condition, essentially.
Yeah, it's crazy how they put everything in there and they try to switch it off. Like, I don't know if you know this or not, you probably do, is apple cider vinegar, one of the best things for you, was bought from Orlando Bloom, Katy Perry, and Mr. Microsoft. So now they're using his apples that he conjures it with those chemicals and stuff in there to put in the apple cider vinegar now, because they know it's good for you. So now they're taking that out, and now you can't even use that anymore. You got to find a different company that actually does use what it's supposed to do, not the chemicals and all the stuff, which it's like saying, hey, don't worry, you're vegan, but there's a little bit of meat in there, but it's okay. It's like, no, I chose not to have that. What are you doing to me? But that's
or the idea of the like Beyond Meat trying to pass something that's super crazy list of ingredients as meat and try to pretend that it's somewhat nutritionally equal when it's just like insanely different.
It's like rubber. Some kind of rubber chemical in there. Like, you need a timer.
I think finally, a lot of those companies started not doing so well. I think some of the mice studies were coming out where like the mice were dying like way earlier. Yeah, it's crazy. But simple whole food nutrition at the end of the day, it's not that complicated, but it does come down to the mindset and the discipline of actually doing it. That's really it at the end of the day.
Yeah, totally. Well, man, again, we appreciate you being on here. And how can people get in touch with you? How can they find you?
Well, they can contact me at topbodspro@gmail.com. If they're looking for personal training, if you're looking for nutrition, or, if they just need anything, question or anything, I'm more than happy to help people and do things. People, you have to remember is when someone, took the time, a pro took the time to, invest in me. And because that person invested in me, made me into where I'm doing right now with this. Okay. Same thing with Zeke. He had, what's his face? Mr. Olympia, Lee Haney, help him when he was younger. And those interactions, you know, it's like a tattoo. They don't go away. And you never know what life is speaking to somebody. You know what I mean? You could have, so if you sit there and just speak to, say, I can speak to somebody, give them a couple questions, you know, answer a couple questions. No, thank you so much. And then they'll person, let's say, doesn't have the money to do it or whatnot, but says, you know, thank you for answering my questions. Yet then he has a friend that's a multimillionaire and says, so you asked that guy? He goes, yeah, it was very nice. He answered my questions. He didn't try to sell me anything. He said if I need help. And he goes, well, I'm actually looking for a trainer. He goes, well, let me tell you something. He was very nice, very knowledgeable. Let me get his contact information. Hey, I'm so-and-so. I want to fly you out to Fort Mill and train at Big Wayne's gym, you know, and be all of a sudden in Vegas, you know, getting ready for, you know, the training room for a show. Those are things like I remember when I was at his place, man, you know, at his, was it the W, the hotel? Was it W or no? What was it, the hotel?
Cosmopolitan.
Yeah. And one of the best hotels in the Strip, you know, and I'm looking outside. He was at a meeting with his wife for the show. And I look outside and I said, man, I cannot believe I'm here. This only could be God, because there's no way I should be here, you know? And it was just so surreal and so crazy, you know, surreal. Yeah. And so that's why I love to help people. You know, I'll have people in the gym that I'll just go up to them and say, if I show you maybe a different way of doing something, because I don't want to, you know, insult anybody. He goes, oh, sure. He goes, try it this way because I saw your form. I'm make sure you're okay, you know. But and he goes, oh, I feel so much better. No problem. And I just walk away. I'm not looking to, you know, do tricks and stuff. You know what? God will bless me in the future for helping people. And that's what we have to do. We just have to just give. You give, you know, God will see that and will give back to you. And it's through anything, through a phone call, I used to give one of my assistant managers, she'd forget her food sometimes. And I used to give her some of my food because I didn't like to see people hungry. I have a brother. He's like my brother. He's the same way. You go to a place, see a guy sitting there, no food. He goes, are you eating? He's like, no. He goes, I want to buy his meal for him. Because he just can't sit there and watch someone not eat. So anything you could do for people to help, that means anybody watching right now, just do it. Give a phone call, give a hand. You know, if someone needs help with something, you know, I've had people in ministry that we've helped. My wife has cooked for them when they were sick. She made meals, brought them to their house and just brought them to them and left. You know, that's what you do. Because, you know, one day, everyone needs help at least one time in their life. So you have to set the standard. Someone's helped me, so now my turn to help other people. So if anybody needs help with anything, you know, I would love to help them.
Awesome, well man. Well, thank you again for your time, and we appreciate you being here.
Thanks, guys. Anytime, if you want to hear on it in the future, let me know. Love to be on it. And God bless this, you know, podcast. You guys are doing great things. You're telling the truth. You're helping people, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's only good things can happen with this.
We appreciate it.